Yo guys, Matt from Upside Mining. Today we got a video that we're going to replace the memory junction thermal pads on the 3080 and 3090s. We're just going to 3090s today because those are the ones that are suffering the most. I'll replace the other ones on my own sometime. But basically what I got here was I got in 4 packs of thermal paste from Amazon. This is basically just the 4-gram pack of, I don't even know what that is. It says SYY, make your cooling life. That is anyways, I've used this before. It's the cheapest one on Amazon.ca, the cheapest one, and no issues with it at all. But the plan is basically to dismantle the Dell RTX 3090s. I got 3080s as well, but I'm gonna just do that for the 3090s because they're having the most throttling issues. On that rig, I should be getting around 750 mega hash. But due to the throttling issues, I'm only getting around 690 and sometimes even lower when it's really hot. And judging by the results I got, which were phenomenal on the 3080 Founders Edition, which dropped the thermal temps down into the 90s from like 110 and almost no thermal throttling issues anymore. I have high expectations for this to do really well. So basically, it's just these pack of plates. Basically, got 12 of them, and man, I just want to like scream when I realize how much I paid for these. There's like $300 for these 3 packs. So I got 3 of the 4 packs, which were 99 US plus shipping and import, and this is all it is. And it was like $30, $36 Canadian import fees, which isn't too bad. But I mean, if it does solve the cooling issue, this will be huge. I mean, guys at coolmygpu.com, you guys are like business gurus or something, because like this fills a niche and people pay for them. It's crazy. These are just like thin pieces of aluminum that replace the thermal pads that go in the memory junction. So I'm basically going to apply thermal paste to both sides of this guy, pull the old pads out, put this in instead, and then reapply thermal paste around the because there's actually a spot, I'll show you in a second when I get into it, basically around the GPU die that had to peel the sticker off, which contains the serial number, and apply the thermal paste, and that helps dissipate heat up into the heatsink as well. So without further ado, I'm gonna go and grab some of these GPUs out of that rig, and I'll bring them up here and start taking them apart. All right, folks, so here are the 6 Dell RTX 3090s that we are going to be using for the coolmygpu.com aluminum shims or plates, whatever you want to call them. So I pulled these out of the rig. These were massively over thermal throttling and getting very, very hot. And they're also quite dirty, actually. They're quite dusty. So I brought up my duster, and the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna clean them out. I'm gonna hold the fans down so they don't spin, so people don't yell at me in the comments below. I'm gonna clean them all out, then I'm gonna start dismantling one at a time and putting them all back together with the aluminum CoolMyGPU plates. Okay guys, so here I am just kind of dismantling the back plate off of the first 3080. I'm using these isopropyl alcohol pads to remove them. I sped up the the video speed about 5 times because it was like way too long just to do that. So I'm basically taking off each of the screws here. As you can see, I got the new aluminum plates down at the bottom right there. Now the kit that I'm using isn't an iFixit kit; it's just an Amazon kit. But I'm removing each of the screws and I'm placing them in the top in a specific order so I know which way to put them back in when I'm done. Now, I'm recording this audio after the fact, but basically I got 4 of those small 4-gram syringes of the thermal paste, and it turns out that you're going to see me basically take off the plate here. You're going to find out that I start running out of thermal paste. So what I have actually ended up having to do after this whole thing was done is actually go through them all and reapply more thermal paste because there was enough. Now, as you can see, I took the back plate off. You can see that the thermal pads themselves are actually missing some chunks, so I also had to go and scrape these off and replace the pads in the back because they got ripped as I ripped it off. So as you can see on these 3090s, there's a metal plate there which goes between the cooler and the actual PCB. I'm going and cleaning off the rest of the thermal paste there. But basically, what happens is that all that there that I'm wiping off now actually helps dissipate the heat from the memory junction into the heatsink above at the top there. And from factory, Dell doesn't include these any thermal pads there, any paste there. So there's actually a stupid sticker there with the serial number that has to get actually kind of scraped off first. Now, I did that way back when I replaced the thermal pads. But when you reassemble this thing, you had to put ample amounts of thermal paste on that plate that I'm cleaning off right now, that black kind of area around there. And you got to put at least quite a bit, some squiggly lines there, just to cover it quite a bit. As you can see, I disconnected the PCB from the fan and the light connectors there. And what I'm doing is just prying off the PCB board because it was kind of stuck on using with the thermal pads. It's been on there for about 6 months running nonstop. So it's sticking on there. So I was able to pry it off now. And you see the left and right pink ones. Those ones are stock ones that are kind of cooling those capacitors on the left and right side of the board. And there we go. I'm just kind of using these scrapers to kind of slide off like pancakes the old memory pads there. And that actual pad there you'll see there that I'm going to be cleaning up in a second is actually also another contact plate that goes on the thermal, kind of on the, it goes between the memory junction at the bottom, those chips, and the cooler, and basically the aluminum plate will wedge between. You'll see in a second. So I'm cleaning off the memory junction now, the actual IC chips there, the memory chips with the alcohol pads as well. You can use like a paper towel and like a isopropyl alcohol spray as well. Works kind of just as good. So let's see, go here and I'm cleaning it off now. Looks like I got some more junk there, just kind of getting it nice and clean. And you'll see that I start to apply the thermal paste on the memory chips here. Now, one thing to take note of, you need to put double basically what I put on here for this to work right. And also right there, if you take a look, you can see the tab at the bottom, at the top right. I'll explain in a follow-up. But the tab, I didn't break those tabs off. In order for this to work right, those tabs have to be removed or it doesn't lay down flat. My first attempt, after putting this in this video, the cards were actually overheating. So I actually had to break those tabs off. So if you have a 3839 and you're using these aluminum plates, make sure you break the tabs off. Make sure you break the tabs off before you put this in. And that's not even near enough thermal paste. Like basically, I went over this with more thermal paste after the fact and basically doubled the amount down. I'm being quite dincy with the actual thermal paste. So if you're doing this mod, get lots of thermal paste. I'd say 5 grams per card at least, 1 tube per card at least or more, because I ended up getting knocked to a 10-gram syringes after the fact and going back over it all and putting even more on. It needs to be a lot on both sides, so you need to put the thermal paste not only on these memory chips themselves here, but you also have to put them on the plate above, and I'll do that in a second. You'll see. So I'm trying to evenly getting it on there with this, and it was a valiant effort. But between that and enough of it and that tab not being removed right there, I should not be doing that, but I had to take it apart and take it off afterwards. So I'm showing you basically where you have to put more thermal paste on the back part there. So I put more on there, and I started running out, so I started being very dincy with the amount, very sparing with it, and that was a mistake. You have to use double the amount of thermal paste. Lots of thermal paste, lots of coverage. Basically, when you put some on and you think it's enough, put more on, basically. And that's how I managed to get the cool properly. So I'm pressing the back plate back on now properly and reconnecting the connectors for the LED and the fans there. And what I'm going to do now, it looks like I'm going to put some more paste. So I'm putting the paste back onto the GPU die, which is fine there. And I'm going to probably spread it out in a second with the spreader. And I'm also putting above, you can see on the heatsink, it's kind of hard to tell, but I'm actually putting a lot of paste on the top there, on the cooler side, on all 4 corners, so it makes contact with the black surface. I should have the GPU higher, but it wasn't. So I'm going to flip it back now and just press it on tight. And I'll probably end up moving the GPU up so you guys can see it more. I kind of lost track of what the camera could actually see here when I was doing it. So I'm flipping it back on and lining the holes up with the GPU. Okay, there you go. Now I'm going to put the spring-loaded screws back on. I'm going to put it in crisscross pattern. So that's important. It's kind of like putting a tire on a car. So you opposite corners, and then you just tighten down just enough, not too hard. You don't want to strip the screws here or go too hard, and you'll know when to stop. And then I also reassembled the side screws, and I just put the top plate back on. I recommend replacing those back thermal pads there with either 1 or 1.5 millimeter gel extremes. 1.5 worked great for me, just fine, before replacing back on, but I tried to reuse it, and that was also a part of the mistake that I made. So I'm going to reapply everything back together, and you'll see in a second that it's kind of ready to kind of go into the computer. So
There, I was just attaching this. Also trying to put the crisscross pattern as I'm reapplying the back as well of the plate here. And yeah, it's just about done, almost ready to go back into the mining rig. And then once this is all put back together, guys, I'm going to turn this on over to a view from Hive OS so you guys can see Hive OS and how the new temperatures are behaving after all the aforementioned changes, like lots of more thermal paste for one thing, and breaking those breakaway tabs away, and replacing the back plate thermal pads if they're broken too badly with 1.5 millimeter Gel ID Extremes. So, without further ado, guys, I'll see you on the computer in Hive OS. Yo guys, okay, so here we are on the computer here, and we're actually on my Cool My GPU website. Now, before I go into Hive OS and show you the kind of the results, I'm going to show you what it was like before and kind of what I had to do in order to get this to work well. So first off, these are the 63090s in a single server case. Okay, so we are getting about 671 mega hash, and a lot of these are overheating. So we get 108, 110. 108, 108, 102, 96, and a lot of little thermal throttling. So 107.8, 104.9, 93 in this one, and it wasn't very hot that day. It was quite. It was only like maybe 19 or 18 degrees out. So when it gets to 30 degrees, these things are just destroyed by the heat, guys. Like it literally will drop to like under 500, under 600 mega hash. These things would throttle so down. They're all under like. All under 100 mega hash, and just on the Ethereum, and absolutely horrible, right? So my solution was I replaced the Gel IDs already, and they weren't good enough. So the Gel ID thermal pads replaced, although it was an okay mod, it wasn't good enough. So what I had to do is I went and after having tried the basically the copper plate for the 3080 FE, the Founders Edition, having great results on that. I decided to try the Cool My GPU plates for the aluminum cooling plates for the Dell RTX 3090s and 3080s. I've only done the 3090s so far, as you just saw in that previous video. But basically, these tabs, these plates there's certain tabs on them that have to be broken off in order for them to work properly. And the tabs you'll see, like when I put them in the video, maybe I can get kind of. Hold on, let me just grab some. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, guys. I'm gonna bring it right close to you. Okay, do you see that? Right here? On this side? Let me see this one better. See that? This is a breakaway tab. Right there, this piece here. You gotta take like needle nose pliers and actually twist those and break this part off. Okay, now the mistake that I made first was I didn't do that at first. And that was kind of my mistake, but I think coolmygpu.com could rectify that a bit by putting a warning sticker or label inside the package that says, warning, if this is for 3090, please break away the tabs, and with a small little just diagram of the tabs. If I would have saw that, I would have just immediately done that. But since it wasn't included, I forgot to do it, and then I had to go back afterwards and read here. And they do say right here, to fit on 3090s, the breakaway tabs must be removed because there's small chips under there. So when they're not removed, the actual aluminum plate doesn't sit down perfectly flat with the memory chips and the heat sink above it. So that was a huge problem. So everything was overheating. It was horrible. The memory temperatures were bad. The core temperatures were overheating. It was bad. So I had to retake all 6 apart. This took multiple hours to do between the first attempt, second attempt, and then the third attempt, where I had to go back through all of the GPUs themselves and actually replace the thermal paste, which means not really replace, but I had to put more on because I saw there was actually spots there that were bone dry that didn't even make contact with thermal paste. So when you put the thermal paste on that, make sure you put more even. So this is saying a 4-pack with 4 grams MX4. That's not even enough. I would say if you're using the Dell RTX and you reapplying for the GPU die itself and the cooling, all the contact points around it, you're going to need at least 4 to 5 each, like per GPU. 4 per, 4 grams for 4 of these packs, 1 gram per pack. Not even close to enough. You need more. Like a lot. Trust me, a lot. It's hard to use. Don't put like a ridiculous amount. But put when it's covered enough and it looks good, put another coat on. Basically, like a lot. Okay, both sides. And that seems to cool a lot of issues. So let's take a look at what I'm looking at now. Now, this is the 3090 rig here, so you'll immediately see there's only 4 in there, and there's a reason behind that, and there's also a reason why this first one's only at 119. So these 3 at the end here, I had to retake apart and apply double the thermal paste on and make sure everything was pushed back together properly, and I did that. And we are getting a steady 120 mega hash per second, which is great. Memory temps are still reading fairly high, but these are not throttling like they were before. This guy here, I did it in my first run, and this one still needs to be replaced. This is actually the final one that needs to be replaced. I need to order more thermal paste. I ran out, so I'll be doing that probably, hopefully tomorrow, and to boost this up to 120 as well. Right now in the mining room, it is around 37 degrees Celsius, so it's not too hot, but it's not too cold. It's pretty hot, 37 degrees, almost 40 degrees. Around 40, things start getting really bad before. Now, why is there only 4 in here? That's the other thing. So I found that in an 8 GPU server case with 70 millimeter spacing, 65 millimeter spacing, it's not enough. So basically, each of these 8 case GPU server cases can only handle 4 of these cards, or because they're just too much. There's too much going through them. If you're running anything else in them, 3070s, 10 series, if you're going that old, or like 3060s or 8200s even, or even some of the AMD cards, anything that's not requiring 300 plus watts, even the 3080s seem to be fine in this. So what I did was I actually took 4 from the 3080, sorry, 2 from the 3080 and 2 from the 3090 rig. So each one of these rigs now has 4 in them, and I put them into a separate rig right here, which has 2 3080s and 2 3090s, and as you can see in this one, we're getting close to 99 mega hash on these 3080s. These aren't updated yet with new aluminum plates. I'm waiting to see if I need to. If I do, I'll do them on here as well. If not, as long as I can hit 99 pretty steadily on these with the way they're spaced out now with the gel ID pads, I'm fine with that for now. I'll keep the aluminum plates. I'll do that another time. But the 3090s here, if you look, they're all pulling 119 up. So there's 2 of them here. These have both been repasted with lots of paste. Those tabs have been broken off, and they've been reassembled like 3 times in order to get it to this point. And they've been moved into another case. So more of the story is, not enough thermal paste. Breakaway tabs weren't broken off the first time. Make sure you do that. And third, they're too packed together in those server cases, so they got to be split out. Maybe it would be fine in a 12 GPU case, but with the 8 GPU case, you only put 4 in there with the amount of room to facilitate the cooling, and then you need to split them up. So I basically split up between 3 frames, basically three sets of power supplies, motherboard, blah blah blah. Now supporting 12 GPUs, 3080s and 3090s a mix, and I'm able to get a higher hash rate that way as well. I know I'm using a little more wattage just because of the server cases, but the extra power supply and motherboard, but this is the best way to get the maximum hash rate without the cards getting way too hot. This is why I'm done with 3090s, guys. These Dells are probably the worst out of all the 3090s. I don't know why I went gung-ho on them. I should have got like EVGAs or some other type, but I went with these, and I'm not ever going to run with these 3090s again. They're just too hard to manage, and they've costed a fortune with thermal pads and now these plates, but now it's good. So thumbs crossed, or fingers crossed, that I can continue on getting these sorts of results with these. So I do have a little bit of thermal paste left, but I don't think it's enough to do this card. So I'm waiting to get the another tube tomorrow, and I'll be doing that one, and that one should lift this up to 120 under all thermal circumstances, which is great. So anyways, guys, I say these are well worth it if you first off you break off the breakaway tabs if it's on a 3090. 3080, supposedly you don't have to. And secondly, use double the amount of thermal paste that you think you would normally need, like literally double. Like slather it on, essentially. And 3, you can't pack these 3090s too close together in any case setup. In open air, in a server case, it doesn't matter unless it's super cold. Like when I had it in a rig all together, all 6 of them, and it was wintertime, and it was like 5 degrees Celsius outside, or 0 degrees Celsius, freezing air kind of going into the house and down there. It was beautiful, right? It was super cold, right? But when it starts getting summer, it's not manageable. So if it's not manageable in summer, it's not manageable in winter. I'm not going to be changing rig configurations all the time between seasons, so I'm just going to try to make it perform awesome in the summertime performs awesome in the summertime, then rest assured that it should perform also similarly awesome in the wintertime as well. Anyways, guys, I'm going to leave it there for now. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Smash that like button. Smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends to subscribe to the channel. I really want to grow this this channel up. Also, go ahead and join the Discord community. You'll find that the Discord community is in the About section on the page here. I need to show you where that is, just in case you don't know where it is. So go over on there to the Upsilon Mining channel. Click on Community, not Community, but my channel. Click on About, and click on the Discord community here. If you click on the Discord community here, you'll be able to join our growing Discord community, which has I'm not sure how many, maybe 20 members now, maybe less. Yeah, quite a bit. And people are actually out here talking and communicating, and let's get something going, guys. Let's really get a good community going. I mean, you're in here early with the channel. It has under 1,000, only under 600 subs right now, and I'm looking to grow this channel, and I want to push this channel even bigger and bigger, right? And the more bigger it gets, I mean, doing some cool stuff like giveaways, maybe some sort of contests, maybe uniting Canadian miners in some way. I'm going to continue on mining and being part of this channel. Anyways, guys, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye for now.